Welcome everybody to the Mush-Locker. This is a 5-year anniversary of our mushroom fruiting chamber container, and we've now transitioned from doing oyster and straw bags to full-on block production. So come check out how we make it happen in the winter. All right, welcome. This is kind of our reishi. Let's switch sides. This is our reishi staging room where we can stack up reishi because this is a high heat room where we condition the air. Some people call it a plenum or a preconditioning room, but this is where we condition the air to go into the fruiting chamber. And so it's coming in from this vent right here that we have just a simple air filter on. And then we have a toggle system set up, so it's like 15 or 18 degrees right now here in Southwest Virginia, and so we can toggle that between our mini split, which caps out like right around that, like 20 degrees or so. So when it's really cold, we can flip this switch here and turn on just this space blower heater. I don't know what that's called, but a shop heater, and that thing is 240. And then when it's not so cold, we can flip the 240 toggle switch back and turn the mini split back on and kind of have more fine-tuned regulation on the temperature. So the main thing that makes the magic happen in the winter is having this right here. This is a just standard blowing, I think it's a Panasonic, I'm not saying the right word, but it's a humidifier and a fogger type, and it blows the humidity up into this vent and up here, and then we have a fan here that sucks the hot air and mixes the hot air with the humidity and the fresh air all together in this room to go into the fruiting chamber. And without that, we wouldn't be able to grow in the winter. I used to have like space heaters in there, and I used to have just this heater, and all the mushrooms would just get burned by the dry, hot air. And so by doing this, it allows us to be able to grow all winter long. So it really makes the magic happen. So I feel like there was something else that I was going to say, but yeah, I think that was like the main gist. So we've been playing with a couple things on that also, is we have it slightly graded so that going into the fruiting chamber is the highest point and the humidifier is the lowest point, and that allows us to be able to have the humidity that builds up in the pipe to drain back into the humidifier and not sag and pull down the pipes. And I'll show you guys the last thing that we've been modifying right here. We've like set this up, so this is going into the fruiting chamber. We've completely maxed it out right now as far as blocks. I think this is like close to 400 blocks in like a 32-foot space. So we're at like max capacity in here, but this is like crunching the whole system of doing 100 blocks a week into one fruiting chamber, which is not ideal because we have a tent during the summer and have other ways of producing, shiitakes on logs in the summer, but we have to crunch in to the chamber during the winter. And so the other modification we've just made right here, let me switch sides with you too, is the air intake. So we rigged this up because we were still having some dry air effects on these blocks right here. So we ducked this, and this is just like a trial to see how it works. So it's kind of ghetto rigged up. But we ducked this down to the floor here and then put a splitter on it. So in theory, it's dumping the hot, moist air at the bottom and then splitting it so it can go up the walls. And then we kind of just have like the chamber set up, so hopefully air is spinning in a counterclockwise way down the fruiting chamber. And finally, the other thing that's very important for mushrooms is airflow. And so having a CO2 meter in the center of the blocks and in the container allows CO2 levels to be regulated and we have a big exhaust fan on the backside that vents everything as needed with CO2 levels changing. And so that has been very important. If you're thinking about building one of these containers, I would highly recommend putting 2 exhausts on each side and putting a door on the back end so that you can chuck your spent substrate blocks out the back and even just come out with, you know, fruit and stuff out the back. But for the most part, it's worked out well, our system, and it has been a big work in progress. We also have an AC unit right here. It's kind of hard to see, but I'll switch sides. And this is like a ghetto rigged setup of a CoolBot alternative. And so we have the, this is the temperature set defrost here. I guess the other one is, oh no, it's just off because the power is off. But one controller regulates the room temperature, and that sensor is running off into the room. The other controller is defrost that makes sure if this coil freezes up, then it kills power to the AC and allows the fan to run and defrost the unit before it tries to cool again, and that'll allow you to be able to cool below the manufacturer's set point. But this unit was put in mainly to keep our oyster straw bags under 80 degrees, so it was not sized for this number of blocks and this volume of production. So we've kind of been using both like in the summer, and this is just like fine tuning, and that's like the bulk of our AC. But I always heard like don't put the AC unit in the fruiting chamber, and this thing has now been running for 5 years and has no problem. So every once in a while we'll like soak it with bleach or some other cleaner and clean off the coils and stuff and clean in these vents, but it hasn't really been an issue for us. You know, maybe a true king trumpet has been a struggle for us because of not being the cleanest in every respect. You know, they don't like clean in your foggers if your foggers aren't sterile, and if air blowing isn't sterile, you can have a lot of problems with kings. But for the most part, it's not been an issue for us. And just trying to think about what else. The other weird thing that we have here are our hanging shelves. These were originally installed. There's 2x4s that are underneath these foam panels. When I built this, foam paneling was the cheapest form of insulation so that we could do year-round production. And I'm guessing it probably still is. And it's held up all right. I mean, you can see it's just like tape, duct tape type stuff that's holding the walls up. And now, like 5 years in, still functional enough. But yeah, there's 2x4s underneath the foam panels, and there's, I think, 6 inches of foam paneling on the roof and 4 on the sides. But it's made it kind of difficult to make sure that you're in the center of the wood that's under there. So if I was going to rig this up again, I would make sure that there's another piece of wood on the outside, so you know when you're sinking these lags in that you're like 100% square in the wood, because we have had these shells fall and that's quite a pain. But anyways, the hanging shelves were set up for the oyster straw bags, because we were doing like 3-foot oyster straw bags, and we would hang 2 rows of them down the row. I'll try to like flash a picture or some B-roll of our old setup. But I went with it because there's a lot of complaints of like, how do you clean when you have built-in shelves? So this has allowed us to be able to clean really easily, and it is the best use of space and airflow because it's very spacious. But it does limit us on how much we can put on the physical shelves and kind of limit our ability to expand. We have to like build a whole new setup of these to have like a second row. And I also like feel we've reached capacity on the blocks per square foot. There's an equation which I will also try to flash up, but I do think that we're like at the cap of like the blocks per square foot in this space. So we're hoping to expand and build another fruiting chamber that would be the entire length of a shipping container, and have like the plenum be in part of the facility that we're going to try to build. So that would eliminate having to have the plenum as part of the container and the fruiting chamber. So I think that's kind of the basis of our winter farming in a shipping container, and I hope you've enjoyed it. Subscribe and keep on shrooming.